Don Whittington, if you could describe this dinner with racers in one word, what would it be?
A lot of fun.
Boom.
Damn.
Damn.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
Welcome to Dinner with Racers.
Season 2.
I'm Ryan Eversley.
And I am his lesser co-host, Sean Heckman.
Good. I like this.
Yeah, I
Is this
know
me
you.
getting
Of
off
course,
here?
you imagine that. 105 West.
Okay, great.
So the sounds you're hearing is us trying to get to the LAX airport because we are wrapping up a 40-day journey that took us across 29 states for 12,000 miles in a Honda Odyssey provided by Honda with what tires, Ryan?
Continental Tires.
Cross-contact LX20s. So,
This is one of our favorite episodes, I think.
yeah, definitely one of our biggest scores if you want to go there.
right.
So we were lucky enough to get down to Fort Lauderdale and meet up with none other than Don Whittington. Now, here's a little bit of backstory on 105 West.
Okay.
Here's a little bit of backstory on Don Whittington for those who don't know. Don was part of this influx of funded drivers that showed up in the 1980s, late 1970s, and Don raced along with his brother Bill.
Yeah.
The Whittington brothers raced everything.
Yeah.
They showed up. They go out and they race IndyCars. They ran stock cars. They ran sports cars. They won the 1979 Le Mans 24 overall.
Yeah.
With Klaus Ludwig.
That's right.
Don would argue that they were pretty much pro-level talents, which they clearly were, but they were still in the modern-day kind of concept of they were funded drivers
Right.
going against factory efforts, and they go out and win. And actually, Don's got an awesome story
He does.
about how he went a long way to help make sure that they won that race. But anyway, goes out, finished, according to Wikipedia, 6th in the Indy 500. He would be happy to correct us and tell us that he finished 5th in the Indy 500. Been in it all, seen it all. The dude could drive, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But he was part of this influx of guys that kind of showed up sort of out of nowhere in the 80s and just were buying race cars left and right and somehow could afford all of it. Don eventually would go to jail for 18 months for pleading guilty to money laundering, received 18 months. When he got out, kind of disappeared from racing a little bit, but he has since gone on to run a private airport out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, WorldJet, which he still owns and operates today. And that's kind of his main day job. He still gets out and races dirt tracks and off-road stuff and still goes out and has fun. But his day job is, again, running a private airport out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Right.
So, but the real story with Don was the process of getting him.
Yeah. You know, when we first thought about season 2 months ago, we had a couple of guys we were like, man, it'd be really great if we could get this person. And to Sean's credit, he was like, what about Don Whittington? And I thought, oh, God, yeah, of course, you know. I grew up in an IMSA household, so the Whittington name, Randy Lanier, and then my dad's tie to it was he was a crew chief for John Paul Jr., John Paul Sr., and all of those guys went to jail or were accused of different times of money laundering, marijuana smuggling, things of that nature. So that's a big deal in the world of sports car racing history of how that was, a normal thing. So when Sean goes, hey, what about Don Whittington? I'm thinking, absolutely, how do we get him?
So I cold emailed WorldJet,
Right.
the company he currently owns and operates. I don't hear anything. This was months ago. A few weeks go by. I'm like, I'll write him again, just in case. I write him. Sure enough, that day, I get a call from a Fort Lauderdale number.
Right.
And Don Whittington's on the line. Could not have been cooler, actually.
Yeah.
Super friendly. I kind of explained what the podcast is all about. He's like, yeah, let's do it.
You
and
call me.
yeah.
Yeah, you call me excited.
Yeah.
You don't call me.
No.
Like, if you call me, it's because we pre-discussed, like,
Yeah.
hey, we need to do a thing or whatever.
So
to get a random call from Heckman's like, uh-oh.
yeah. Well, like, again, and to put that in context, like, loved most of our guests that we've had on.
Most of our guests
I've been very, very happy with. When we book somebody, Ryan gets an email, maybe a text message.
And vice versa.
You're like, hey, we got this guy.
Right.
I've never called you
Right.
excited about the fact we just got somebody.
Yeah.
But when Don Whittington, which we now call Donny Dubbs.
Donny Dubbs!
When Donny Dubbs calls, I get pretty giggly about it.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
oh, we got Don Whittington.
Yeah. You would, like, during the process while we were on the road, you would show me your phone when he would be calling back.
I'm like, Don Whittington's
Don
calling me.
Whittington's calling me.
So very, very excited about this. So anyway, so here's the thing. Here, the process of getting a hold of Don was I call, usually doesn't pick up, and then I get a call back from him. Every call is less than a minute, and that's the end of it. And so this was the process. Like, I was terrified he was going to flake. I just had this feeling he was going to flake on us because why would he give us a podcast?
Sure.
And so, like, he doesn't know us. And so I always figured he was going to flake. So every 2 weeks I'm calling and reconfirming, like, hey, we're going to be in town, and this general idea, I mean, we're good about keeping up with everybody about our schedule, but it's tough because we don't actually know what our schedule is until days before, the way it moves around so much. So every couple weeks, Don, we're going to be here in this time. You good? Yeah, be good.
Yeah.
1 minute phone call or less. And anyway, so he keeps calling, and we're good. So we get a week out, and it's pretty real at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna get Don Whittington, and we're excited about this.
Oh, yeah.
So the very specifics of the exact time and date start to get closer and closer. So the interview was set for a Thursday.
Tuesday, you give them a call just to reconfirm, like, hey, what you're doing to all the guests, whether it's a text message, email, or whatnot, and you reach out to Donny Dubbs, and you're like, hey, just making sure Thursday, roughly lunchtime or afternoon would be okay, as we discussed, and then he calls you back.
Yep.
And in
For less than a minute.
Less than a minute.
And he calls me back, and he's like, yeah, I'll probably be in Jacksonville Thursday.
And we're like, but
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be around. Like, literally says, I'm not sure if I'm going to be around. Which,
just the air out of our balloon.
For anyone who's ever really tried to get a guest they've been excited about, for anyone who's ever tried to
like ask out
a hot chick and like maybe, you're like, that's a no.
Right.
You know?
I'll think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, that's not going anywhere.
Right.
So, for any race king driver trying to get a ride, it's
That's a good point.
We all know that, I'll get back to you means a no.
Right.
So when he says, I'm not sure if I'm going to be around, it's like,
well, we tried.
it's not going to happen. So, like, I hang up all deflated. Ryan, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to happen.
Right.
But he said, call back the next day, and we'll try and do it. So I call back on Wednesday. He calls me very briefly. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to be around tomorrow. I'll be in Jacksonville in the morning.
Right.
But maybe I'll be around in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, actually, Jacksonville might work, because that very day we were going to St. Augustine, Florida, to visit Hurley Haywood.
Right.
And Jacksonville and St. Augustine are pretty close to each other. So I'm like, actually, we'll be in Jacksonville.
We
if
can
you
make
wanna
that
meet up
work.
for breakfast. That
Yeah.
could be great. We're like, oh, okay, maybe. I'll call you back in 2 hours.
Right. So now we have to go have dinner with Hurley Haywood.
Hurley Haywood.
And it's like 4 o'clock, so we're having like a 6 o'clock. We're like, great, right? As we sit down is when he's
Is when he's
scheduled
gonna
to
call
call
us.
us back, if he's going to call us back.
Yeah.
And we literally said to each other a couple times, like, we'll never hear from him again.
Yeah. That's it.
Like,
So
that's it. He's out.
He's not, yeah.
Right.
But if Don Whittington calls in the middle of a Hurley Haywood interview,
We're
that's
answering
actually kind
it.
of awesome.
We're
Yeah.
answering it. So, hold on, Hurl. Got to answer this one.
So he doesn't call back. So
Right.
it's now Wednesday night. Now we're in a very weird predicament, because Friday we have to be in Fort Worth, Texas.
Right.
Fort Worth, Texas, whether it's from Jacksonville or from Fort Lauderdale, it's a 17 to a 19-hour drive.
Yes.
So if we don't have to be in Florida on Thursday, we're going
Yeah, we'll get
to
some of the
Texas.
drive
We're gonna
out
get
of the
some
way.
of the drive out of the way.
Yeah.
And now we're in this tricky position where it's clear if Don Whittington happens, it's going to be a last minute, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And so we need to kind of be ready for that. Meanwhile, there's another guest who we've been trying to get a hold of, and he's been very vague about his availability, not answering back a lot of emails, and that was Randy Lanier.
Right.
And again,
Equally as exciting as Don Whittington for us.
You can hear the full Randy Lanier episode. Randy's episode is awesome. He's very forthcoming in a lot of stuff. But leading up to that, we weren't sure if we were going to get him. Most of the conversations with him were over email, and we didn't hear back very reliably.
Right.
So we just had no idea if we were going to hear from him. All of a sudden, out of nowhere,
He's like, yeah.
he writes back, Randy, and says, yeah, I'll be around Thursday afternoon.
And we're like, holy shit.
In one afternoon, if everything worked out, we could have Don Whittington and Randy Lanier all in one evening.
Right.
And then we have to drive 19 hours to Fort Worth, Texas.
To get Eddie Gossage,
Yeah.
who we wanted.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
So, what do? So here's the thing. We could get a call that morning from Don Whittington saying he's in Jacksonville. we could get a call from Don Whittington saying, yeah, meet me in Fort Lauderdale.
Or just never hear from him.
Never hear from him again. Randy Lanier, also in Fort Lauderdale area, but we're not 100% sure if he's going to flake. Do we just say screw it and head to Texas? The problem is we really, really want these guys.
Oh, God. Like, they were like all we could think about the whole season.
And we could go down to the Fort Lauderdale area, but one, it's like a 4-hour drive from St. Augustine.
Right.
The other thing is what happens if Don Whittington called and says, well, I'm in Jacksonville. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So we decide what we're going to do is stay in Daytona Beach.
As long as we can.
Yeah. And Daytona Beach is kind of a good halfway point where if somebody says, hey, I'm in Jacksonville, come here now.
Right.
We can get there in a reasonable time. If Fort Lauderdale happens, it's not that far of a drive. So it's a good place to be. But, again, we have a 19-hour drive ahead of us. We've got to be in Texas by that Friday afternoon,
Right.
which is literally, at this point, 36 hours away.
Yes.
So our intention is if we don't hear from anybody, we're going to sleep in as late as possible on Thursday
Yeah.
because we know we're driving through the night. We got to be safe.
Most likely, yeah.
And so, but at the same time, I know Don Whittington can call me at any second and be like, I'm in Jacksonville. Where are you going? Where are you at?
Like, why aren't you here yet?
Yeah.
Right.
So 6 a.m. Thursday,
Nothing.
7 a.m. Thursday,
Nothing.
8 a.m. Thursday.
Still nothing.
Clearly, he's not calling.
He's
He's
bailing.
flaking. Don Whittington's not going to happen. Accept it. So we're trying to sleep
Just get a couple more
and just
hours.
relax.
And at this point, we're getting Randy Lanier.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, we're getting Randy Lanier. We know we have to drive to Fort Lauderdale, but if he's going to be in Jacksonville, we got to at least get like a 2-hour window to give him some time because we really want to get him.
Yeah.
And at like 10:30, I'm literally like, cool, I'm gonna hop in the shower and then we can get out of here. And like as I'm about to close the door, Sean's like phone starts ringing, and because we're waiting on this call, I hear the phone ring. I'm like, and
Yep.
so I come out and he's like holding the phone up, and it's Don Whittington. And we're like, oh, he's
Oh,
calling.
God. Oh, shit. What do we do?
So we're like, at the same time, we had the same idea, which is let it go to voicemail.
That way we have the record. that
At
he called.
least when he bails, we have like, hey guys, it's Don, I can't make it. We can at least play that on the show,
Yeah.
and people will know we tried.
Be legit.
Yeah. So we get the voicemail, which he left, and we were surprised by that.
Because every call was less than a minute.
Right. And so we get the voicemail. We call him back, and he's like, yeah, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. Where are you?
Yeah.
Like the Jacksonville thing never
Like
existed.
we've never discussed this
We're
at
like,
all.
wait,
This
you-
was the plan the whole time.
Okay.
So we do the math. We're like, okay, well, we can get to Jacksonville or to Fort Lauderdale by like 3 in the afternoon.
Right.
So let's meet at 4, and we'll be good.
Right. And at the same time, we got Randy Lanier thinking that he's going to be there at 6.
Yeah.
So we're like,
Same location. Now,
right.
here's the thing.
Right.
We don't know anything about their modern day relationship.
Yeah, Randy's been in jail for 27 years, and Don only went for like 18 months
But they went to jail for very similar reasons.
at the same rough time.
Yeah, so we don't know if they, like, was there bad blood? Did
Right,
one
like
guy
if I
rat
ever
another
see you
guy
again.
out? Yeah.
Sure. So we literally are now like, are we the assholes that are going to have Don Whittington sitting down and then Randy Lanier walking in like a big smile on his face like, hey, I'm here to,
No, and like, and
or
they don't,
not you,
and they don't know anything about our podcast. So for all they know, like, this is what it is. Like,
Right.
it's like all we do is like interview
Burn
these kind of guys
people.
and burn them. Like, when in fact it's like just this friendly race car driver show. So
right.
Uh,
So we now have these like moral dilemmas of our own where it's like, how do we set the tone early on? Like, hey, look, we do want to know that stuff, but we're also not here to like embarrass you or like your family or anything along those lines. But,
we want to hear the story.
we want to hear the stories. It's just one of these things that we're like, what's happening
What-
right
what
now?
do
This
we
is our
do?
dumb
How do we
podcast
get
that we
in
were
this
just like. So we literally call Sean's partner at the Media Barons, Jason, and give him specific instructions on how to edit the
just in
episodes
case- like,
in
and where
case
we're
something
gonna
happens
be,
to us.
in
Yeah,
case
where
we
we're gonna be,
disappear.
and like a call time for afterwards. It's just like stuff like that because we're idiots.
because we're dorks.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
So we end up getting there. Now, to set it up for you guys, when we go to a dinner, we generally get to the restaurant an hour ahead of time to make sure everything's okay so we can set up the equipment, which isn't a lot of stuff, but it takes a little bit of time, and you don't want to be fumbling through it as the guest shows up and
Yeah.
is waiting. And we like to just start as soon as they walk in to get the natural like conversation going.
And there's a lot to like. You got to find a table with a power outlet. Sometimes there's not enough seat spaces. You think like, there's a
Right.
lot of things that show up, so you need to show up early.
Yeah, so we get there early, at least an hour ahead of time, sometimes more. In this case, because we hustled down there to try to get there, in good time, and because we basically just ran out of the hotel, we got there about an hour and a half early. Generally, the guests show up 5 minutes late. We park in the parking lot, away from the entrance.
We've been on the road at this point for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's a hard 3 weeks. This isn't like 3 weeks of a car that you drive back and forth to work. This is like we've been on cross-country drives, 18 hours in the car every day. So there's like soda cans and trash wrappers everywhere.
Like fast food wrappers
Fast food
everywhere.
wrappers. I a lot of times in the passenger seat will take my shoes off.
Yes, you do.
And so like this is just what we look like. And so we pull up next to a minivan, and I open my passenger side door. Trash comes out. I'm putting my shoes on. I'm pretty rough. Like this is not a sight to see.
Right.
Like, we look like these crazed guys in a modern van, in a 2016 Honda Odyssey,
Which
but for
doesn't
some reason,
deserve any of this.
Yeah. And apparently this was all next to Don Whittington.
Who's sitting in his van watching because he got there an hour and 35 minutes early.
Yep.
And saw us pull up.
Yep.
Why? We don't know.
But his first impression was me opening up my trash-filled passenger side door and put my shoes on. Like,
Right. And
And,
so he must have felt comfortable with us.
yeah, at that moment
because
was like, okay, these guys are
they're fine. Yeah.
so,
So that sets the tale of how we get him. The thing about Don that we realized right away is he doesn't follow the sport as close as he used to because he's not as involved. He still likes to ride his dirt bikes and off-road stuff. He still hangs out with racers. Apparently very good friends with Bobby Unser. The guy does not give a what you think about his opinions.
Yep.
He is happy to tell you how he feels about anything, including politics, and doesn't care what you think.
and it turns out he was right.
And to be honest with you, I didn't mind it at all. Not that I agreed with some of his ideas or principles, but I love the fact that he was like, here's what I think. Don't care.
Yep.
You know, like if you don't like it, not my problem.
Donny Dubbs
Donny Dubbs.
what Donny Dubbs wants.
That's right. So that was kind of the whole setup to get him. But you just got to understand that, like, we were thinking about this for months ahead. Like, God, we really want this guy to be really cool. And when we got him, he gave us his time. We asked the questions that I'm sure he didn't want us to ask. He was fine about it. He gave us the answers that he wanted to give. And now you get to listen and
Yep.
you can form your opinion.
And-
But it's very critical that if you haven't listened to the Randy Lanier episode, give the Randy Lanier episode a listen because it really kind of answers some of the questions that we didn't get answered in this one.
So, Don Whittington, Donny Dubbs.
Continental Tire.
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Oh, by the way, cussing with us, totally good.
Yeah.
We encourage it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
try
we-
not to. I'm trying to cuss less. I use the word it was for breakfast.
Right.
Well, let's get the headset on. Let's hear it for. This is. There's a reason we'll never go live because with us on the air, it's very dangerous.
We'd lose our funding immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And, because Ryan's got the very nice factory deal racing for Acura, we're not going to fuck that up.
No, please not.
Anyway, so the first time you and I talk, first of all, thanks for calling back.
Sure.
But the first time you and I talked, you're telling me how you just got out of the desert with Bobby Unser and a couple other guys. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, is this your crew? Is this your guys?
Yeah.
Well, Larry Ragland's racing with us this year. First time I've ever been to Baja, so he's
Okay.
he's riding with us, which is a blessing.
Right.
Bill's been racing some of the stuff for years. So, and Bobby, we were at the ranch in Colorado. Bobby
Okay.
has a place in the same town in Pagosa Springs.
Okay.
And Larry spent quite a bit of time up there this summer.
Right.
He loves to run dozers and stuff. We were adding to a dam.
Right.
Okay.
Built a dam a few years ago. We added a bunch of
And just for
Sure,
those
sure.
who don't know, Larry
from that. Larry Ragland.
Ragland, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had known his ex-wife for years and years, and my wife had met Larry a bunch, but I never had because they have a place in Telluride.
Okay.
Cool guy. And Bobby's a great guy. He's 83 years old. He brought his buggy up because he's in Pagosa. We all went to a place called Victoria
Right.
one day, Larry and his, and Unser and Bill and I in one, and raced, changed blows all the way up there and all the way, had a hamburger and came back.
Nice.
Couldn't be more fun of a day. It was just absolutely, just
And is he still out there like he used to be?
83 years old and still driving.
Right. That's awesome.
No, he is wide open still. He's got back trouble, but he still makes it all work.
Right.
His back, it's been bad for years, but
Right.
he's still making it work.
Right.
He still works. He still does one or two. He'll do three or four events a month. He'll get in his Aerostar, him and his wife. They both fly the Aerostar, and they go all over the country doing it.
Just going out
Speaking
and
and
having
stuff. Yeah, no, they
Yeah.
get paid really well for it, too.
He kind of can. So who's your crew? Who does Don Whittington hang out with?
Mostly the family. I mean, my son works with us at the airport.
Okay.
And, I'm there every day. We buy and sell airplanes, sell jet fuel to people. And
Yeah.
I've got a guy, Jeff Hudlett was a world champion go-kart guy. We see a lot of him.
Okay.
He does Donnie's kart stuff, helps with that.
Right. And your son Donny is just like you. He's out there trying to make it work.
He's trying to make it work, running through the go-kart stuff now and
Right.
doing well. And he raced motorcycles with me for a few years, but broke a few bones, got tired of that.
Right.
So he's back. He's in the go-karts, and we
Nice.
hope to move him up to something more soon,
Sure. Right. So we met by me basically putting in a cold call to WorldJet, which you mentioned. So WorldJet is a private airport, and
It's Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport.
Okay.
And there's several FBOs there. And
an
we're
FBO, for those who don't know, is a fixed base.
we sell fuel and we rent hangar space to
Right.
people.
And the term is fixed base.
Fixed base operation, they call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Private airport.
It's a public airport, but it's private, and we have probably more. I think we were number 2 or 3 in the nation for corporate jets being
Okay.
based there in the last few years.
Nice. Cool.
So they'll have a couple 100,000 takeoff and landings a year. They used to have
Jeez.
more, but
Okay.
it's down. But 180 to 200,000 takeoff and landings a year.
So you're making money by people renting space. Are you doing any like work on aircraft management, anything like that?
No, we used to manage some airplanes, but don't anymore.
Okay.
We have a couple of major shops that rent space from us that do work on airplanes.
Okay.
So that we have 380,000 square feet of hangars that we rent to people.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
then we sell fuel.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're there. We've been there since '76.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And you've had it. It's been yours the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So one of the things that Sean and I on this particular trip last year was more of a kind of an introduction to what we didn't really know what we were doing. Not that we know what we're doing now, but we knew less then. And what we've come across on this trip is a lot of themes where people that still work together to this day used to work together a long time ago. So some of the names that we've gotten to interview this year, a guy named Max Jones, for example, I don't know if you remember him, but he now runs Ganassi's NASCAR project.
And we know Chip real well. We see him.
Yeah, and we told him we were going to be meeting with you in a couple of days. He's
I know
like,
who he
man,
is.
that guy was one of my heroes. He's like, you're getting Don Whittington? And we were like,
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
And that was pretty cool. But it seemed like names from yesteryear are still
They're
like,
still around. And y'all know each other.
yeah,
That was the
everybody
thing
knows
that blew our
everybody.
mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I think a lot of guys stayed in touch.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some guys that, I never stayed in touch with Hurley much. He drove with us some, and great guy. Couldn't
Yeah.
be a nicer guy. But he was always his own thing. Everybody out there racing has their own deal going on
Yes.
in their life. And, family and kids and stuff. And most of the kids now are older for most of the guys. So they have more time to do stuff. And a lot of them are still participating in racing. I mean, not
Right.
just what I do, but a lot of those guys are still doing stuff and
Right.
and wide open about it, having
Right.
fun.
One of the things that blew us away with Hurley was his story, the way he told it to us. He did literally a couple of autocrosses, met Peter Gregg, and after just a few races was all of a sudden at Watkins Glen running what would now be the 6 hour. And in the modern era, it doesn't seem like it's really done that way. Like you can't, your grandkids can't do a couple of go-kart races, turn 16, and be
No.
ready to go run Continental.
right.
You'd have to start when you're 7.
Yeah.
And that's
But
what,
how was
that's
it?
what I
How
see.
was it for you? Because obviously you guys kind of burst onto the scene.
I'd raced go-karts and quarter midgets when I was 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
So
And you came from racing. Your dad raced.
my
sprint
dad
cars.
raced,
right.
Pikes Peak and flat tracks. He
Right.
won the Phoenix, USAC race one time.
Right.
But he ran midgets his whole life when he was growing up.
Right.
So that's something I wanted to do. And
Right.
a guy named Jerry Alexander in Farmington, New Mexico, where I lived, was an RC bottling guy, and he loved racing, and he bought a quarter midget and had tryouts down at his bottling shop there in
Okay.
Farmington. I rode my bicycle down and got the job.
Nice.
It's pretty simple. I mean, then I ran it for a while, and then we got a go-kart after that, and we had a Scorpion go-kart that had 2 Max 6s on it. Of course, I was a skinny runt, so I didn't weigh much, and Bobby Unser's guys from New Mexico, from Albuquerque, would all come to Farmington to race. I beat the pants off of them because they were older guys that were heavy, and I weighed nothing.
Right,
So
right.
it wasn't necessarily skills. It's just I had
You just had the weight.
I had the weight. And we were talking. He knew some of those guys when I saw Bobby the other day. He knew some of the guys I'd raced against when I was like 8 years old.
Nice. So it was a very young thing. What we know you for winning Le Mans. We know you for racing at Indy and all that. What were tell us about the time leading up to winning Le Mans.
Well, we started running the Porsches in late 78.
And up until that, you were racing primarily karts before you were ready to drive?
Nah, I had ran some motorcycle. We didn't run. I'd not raced cars before that much.
Okay.
At
Wow.
all. Well, not
Okay.
much. Not at all.
Okay.
We raced some motorcycles in the 70s and stuff, and in the 60s, Bill and I, hair scramble
Your
stuff
brother
back
Bill.
then. Yeah, brother
Yeah.
Bill. And then we bought a 934 from a guy named Brown out of Seattle, and then modified it for a 935. And really, our first race for that car was Talladega.
Oh,
A
wow.
6-hour race in Talladega. We finished second.
Yeah.
Rutherford drove with us, in fact. Johnny drove with Bill and I, and Johnny Rutherford drove that race, and we finished second. Had a good race. I don't know who won it, but then that was kind of the entry. And then we bought a car from Al Holbert, his 934, that he won the championship with.
Right.
And then took that, and then bought a 935 after that, and then Le Mans. We went to the Le Mans the year before.
78.
In 78 with
Yeah.
Reinhold Yost, who's still a real good friend. We talk to Reinhold all the time. And rented his car, and the car broke. Had an accident in the car after it broke. And Kramer had the winning hand in Europe that year. He won everything. They had the best prepared car in the world. It's just a great car. And so we made a deal with him.
Yeah.
Ended up buying the car, won the race, and bought the car. But I mean, we had some good luck during the race and some bad luck during the race, but it turned out okay. But that was kind of the start of it.
Right.
And then the 6-hour races were real popular. They had the World Endurance Challenge in about 80, I think, something like that. We ran those races and was able to win that. I won every 6-hour race I entered that year.
Right.
You can't do that anymore.
Well, but actually, but you bring up an interesting point. So, for lack of, you would have been what we call in modern days a gentleman driver, right? I mean, you were there because you had funding.
No, it was. We had some. Those cars were really not bad price-wise. They weren't bad to run back then.
Right,
They're
right.
not like today's cars.
Right. Well, but
And you could win a little money. You could pick up some sponsorship here and there, and it wasn't such a burden. And people weren't making $200,000 a year. I mean,
Right.
You could hire a great guy for $10 or $12 an hour. And some of them we weren't paying that to back in the 70s. But the cost of living was less for everybody
right. Well, I mean,
too.
there's plenty of ways in racing to not make money. That's still
That's
true
right.
today.
That's
You know,
right.
try PR and marketing. But
No, exactly.
Podcasting.
podcasting.
The day the racers have put themselves out of business, they really have. They've
Right.
kept adding technology to the cars, which is really expensive,
Yeah.
and it's just out of hand. And try to go run an Audi that's a couple of years old or something.
Yeah, you're not going to do it.
You're not going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Reinhold had 80 people at Sebring
Yeah.
Yeah.
last time he ran there.
Yeah.
In fact, his head guy used to do the engines for Kramer.
Okay.
I mean, talk about a nucleus of people that's still out there.
Yeah, right,
That's
right,
just and Reinhold was a great driver. He drove back then too.
Yeah, that's
Right.
correct.
A good driver.
Yeah.
A liquid Molly car. That's who he was. And
But I kind of asked that because transitioning to kind of the modern days of IMSA, we look at somebody, maybe less so yourself, but like an Al Holbert or a Bobby Aiken.
Yeah.
No one asked for driver rankings in those days. And I don't know if you follow IMSA today, but the whole driver rankings disaster that's going on.
I ran
what
an
are you
IMSA
looking
race about 5 or 6 years ago at Sebring,
Okay.
and it was a pain in the ass. I mean, they didn't like this, they don't like that. That whole thing's, Bishop, I think, just died this year.
Yes. Yeah.
His wife had died earlier, and things change. I mean, the evolution of racing, but I think it's going the wrong direction. I mean, they should have never have done the prototypes. They should have kept with a homologated car, and it's murdered racing.
Yeah.
There's no relationship between what something looks like and what the guy can go buy.
Right.
I mean, at least a 935 had a front end, or a 934 or 911. They had a front end. It was a Porsche. I mean, it's a homologated car. They don't even know what that word means anymore.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the basic question that we had for you is because you have a professional background outside of the sport and were able to bring funding to race, and this went like to the Bob Aikens and Al Holberts, and they were happy to race against the best drivers in the world on equal footing and compete, and you didn't hear any bitching about it, and there wasn't this thing that now they call driver ratings. It literally was like, no, you're supposed to race against the best guys out there, no matter who it is. And the idea behind them is they're trying to make it fair for a guy that doesn't race for a living. And so when we asked Charlie Haywood about it last night, we didn't know which way he would go, but he flat out said, driver rankings are absolute bullshit.
It is bullshit.
You're supposed to be out there competing against the best people, and he's like, back in the day, like Peter Gregg, who he drove with, was a wealthy guy that wanted to race, and he never once said, "Oh, this is too hard. I should have an advantage or something."
Yeah.
And so we were like, I wonder what Don would say, because you guys raced everything from Le Mans to IndyCars when IndyCars were terrifying to NASCAR, and you guys like no problem doing it. Happy to be there.
It was easy. I mean, it wasn't hard at all. And the same with airplanes. I mean, airplanes were easy. But the driver rating thing, you asked a question a while ago, and I really didn't answer it, but I think that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my lifetime. Either the man has the talent or a woman has the talent, and they belong on a racetrack, or they need to go home.
Right.
God
and that's
bless
all
you.
there is to it. There's no two ways. If you qualify for a race and have the experience and they accept you and give you a driver's license, it should not have ratings on it. You're either a race car driver or you're not.
Yes, correct.
And there's no in between.
So
funny.
you never got out of the car after a practice session after a bad race and went, well, it's not fair because they're all pros that are racing against us.
Nah, I mean,
Yeah.
one of my most cherished pictures there is Jackie X at the start of Le Mans showing Bill the finger because he passed him at the start in a 936. Bill passed him. So that tells you. I mean, when you're in a race car, you're all the same. You're going to rub fenders. You're going to get pissed off. You're going to, you might do stupid things, but you want to get by the guy in front of you.
Yeah.
You want to run over him, drive over him, eat him, however you won't buy. I mean, that's what I still today love going around corners. I mean, going fast isn't a big deal. I like going around corners and braking. That's racing. Anything other than that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now, SCCA has ratings for drivers, and I think that's a reasonable deal for the SCCA because they bring people from the very, very slowest cars to very fast cars.
But it's intentionally amateur racing.
But it is amateur racing, so I
Yeah.
think that's needed there. But in pro racing, you pay your entry fee, you qualify, you go home. That's all there is to it. You shouldn't have a series where this other guy gets this or that. It's just total nonsense.
Right.
And I forgot all about that until you mentioned it just now, too.
Yeah. Well, because you don't watch IMSA, correct? Like you're not watching IMSA these days.
No, there's none on TV hardly any to watch.
Second time we've heard that. Yeah. Fair enough.
Bless it.
So Sean and I were having this debate this morning on the drive down here. We are familiar with Blue Thunder Racing Team, and it's the same time the movie came out, roughly, that you guys started that team. Is it because you guys love the movie? Is it related at all?
No,
or are we
I don't
totally
think that-
Oh man,
Damn
we were
it,
way
we were
off.
so-
No, I had nothing to do with that movie, and I had really nothing to do with Blue Thunder Racing. Randy did, and my brother Bill.
Yeah.
And they kicked everybody's ass so good with those, that Lola car. And they had a March, the March. And
Yes.
Faulkner did the motors, did a beautiful job on them, and they just kicked the Porsche's ass. They just beat them to death. They wore them out. I drove once or twice for those guys, and that was Randy's name. That's what they call the Blue Thunder Racing. But the movie Blue Thunder, I've seen it, but no connection.
Man, we were like,
so hoping. It was like, what's
No
your favorite
credit
line
to
from the movie? Okay. Because I've got an investment opportunity for Blue Thunder the musical. If you want to get in on it.
Oh,
you want to get
shoot.
in on the ground floor. We'll make it work. Silent
Got
mode.
Led Zeppelin. I mean, you got anybody good that I know about? Wolfman? Or,
Oh, it's a work in progress. No. we run a business. I don't know if it's similar for you, but our business model is, ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try to get the investors, and then we try to figure out how to make a play afterwards. So
That's how life works, though.
yeah.
Right.
There's all the best forged plans in the world don't work a lot of times. You have to just shoot from your hip and start over constantly in life. You really do.
Right. So Blue Thunder Racing was a venture between your brother Bill and Randy Lanier.
Yeah, sure was.
I think he lives around here. Do you still stay in touch with Randy?
I stay in touch with him all the time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
'Cause
he's
he just
a
got
good
out.
guy.
Right.
He's been working with Preston Hinn at the swap shop for a while.
Cool. Okay.
And Preston's an absolute character of life. In fact, you ought to go interview the guy.
Would love to.
He's
Yeah.
80-some years old. He'd love to do it. I saw him yesterday. And
Cool. Okay.
he's still a hoot of life. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got all those cars over there. You can drive over there right now and see an $80 million Ferrari there.
And this is all at the swap shop.
And
Yeah.
he's got all those other cars too.
Yeah.
And he still drives that stuff. So
Yeah. How's Randy been adjusting, do you think, to
doing
life
well.
outside?
He worked there he's been there for a year or so now and doing really well. Yep. He's running some cars, got a little television thing working and a show going.
TV thing. Okay.
Yeah, he's got something going on. He really does. He's trying to make something out of it.
That's awesome.
He's
That's
been doing some driving for some guys and doing some teaching.
nice.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, for spending. Yeah, he paid a hell of a price, but
mean,
he's really okay.
It was 25 years?
Yeah,
that he
more
was
than
in?
that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough to adjust. I mean, what do I know? But yeah. Speaking of which, Ben Kramer, I found out that he was a nephew of Meyer Lansky. Is that correct?
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
It's like a wife's tale.
No,
Ben,
I'm just curious.
And I met Ben and his dad and their uncle in California. I mean, it may have been. I mean, they said that we were the son of Meyer Lansky. So I mean, who the hell knows about that? I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not. You could probably ask him if you tracked him down. I mean, he'd probably tell you.
Sure.
He would tell you right away.
So you guys don't stay in touch?
Huh?
You and
No,
Ben
I haven't
Kramer.
been in touch with him since he's been away. I haven't.
Okay.
So I kind of want to go back a little bit to IndyCar because you actually raced several times in the 500 and you finished 6th. Fifth.
Oh,
Wow.
Excuse you.
Now I
Should
know.
have won the race that year. Had the best car.
Yeah.
We lost a clutch early on. The first pit stop, it killed the motor and got a lap down. I wasn't smart enough to get it back.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what it was like to drive an IndyCar in that era where the power numbers were insane, but the cars are still very dangerous and very likely if you had a crash at Indy, it was going to be injury.
You get hurt.
Yeah.
My brother got hurt at Indy.
Yeah.
I crashed twice there in practice, or once during the race and once in practice really hard. And those cars had no protection.
Right.
It just wasn't a thought. And the carbon fiber was so strong back then, it was bad for your body. I mean, when you hit, it's one thing, but the aluminum cars would kind of crinkle
Yeah.
and absorb some energy. The same with the sprint cars. They made those so stiff it, would kill the guys. But the new cars are much, much better. But
Right.
I didn't think much about it.
Huh.
No, I just, I wanted to go fast. It's not. My goal at Indies was to straighten out the course. In other words, you go there and you do your splits and you try to lose the least amount of RPM when you turn the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're trying to straighten out the straightaway. So
Yeah.
the quicker you can run flat there. And I ran a race before that in California at Riverside
Ontario.
or
Okay.
Ontario.
Yeah.
Fabulous racetrack.
Yeah.
And Rutherford was on that was Marlboro or Budweiser, McLaren, and I think Bud was a sponsor. I'm not sure. And he and Bill ran too in a Pernelli car. We were having trouble holding the car flat because it didn't feel natural to go down the corner, and the thing you just didn't have a feel for where the limits were yet. So Rutherford told us many times. He said you just got to look in the mirror and talk to yourself.
Yeah.
But and I finished that race too. I finished 5th there too. The first race I ever ran with those cars.
Because in those days
all the stars were there.
It wasn't flat in those days like it is today.
Just about.
Oh, really?
Just about.
But just about means you really have to commit.
No, it was. I spun going into 3 in practice one day there and didn't hit the fence. I spun and came in the pit. Say, I just spun this thing. I feel bad about it. We got to put some more wing in it. And they all turned white and looked at me and all fainted. But I didn't hit anything.
Yeah.
I looped it and then I was going backwards. And I just spun it back around. I wasn't thinking about it. I just did it, But
Right.
they were lightweight cars. With no foot protection.
Yeah.
That's why Foyt limps today. His feet are just destroyed.
Right.
There was no. The fuel cell would protect you if you had something from the back because you set on the fuel cell. In fact, when you fill it with gas, you had to loosen the seat belts because if during the race you tighten your belts really, really you're tight. Then they fill it with fuel and then you can't breathe just about. So as the race goes on, your belts get looser or always tightening them.
Yeah.
Then when you fill it with fuel, it just stretches it so much you can't. But that's what you want. You want it so you just can barely breathe.
Right.
But the speed's not something you really notice in those cars.
Okay.
Whether you run at 200 or 215. I mean, I ran 215 there, set a record in practice. But you don't really notice it. You're just trying to straighten the track out and run flat.
Yeah.
That's all you're trying to do. So any little maneuver, anytime you turn that steering wheel, the RPMs go down. So you try to get it down to just a few hundred RPM.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
Minimize,
It's an easy race.
But
Okay, so far the common theme here is that you don't seem to be fazed by much. You're like, we won Le Mans. That was really cool.
That's fine.
And then we went to Indy. And, it was okay. And I
mean,
spun once.
It was fun. I mean, I was never taken in by the moment much.
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, you're driving a race car in Indy, you never see the crowd. It's just you don't even look at the grandstands.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you do, you're daydreaming. So
Right.
you pay attention, and the same at Le Mans. I mean, we had some great luck at Le Mans and some bad luck in order to win it.
Right.
So they go out. But if you're focused enough on what you're doing, like racing a motorcycle, if you're not focused, you're just going to bust your ass immediately.
Yeah.
So you learn how to be real focused when you drive a vehicle.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you don't seem short of confidence. So showing up at Le Mans 1979, did you? Again, I just look at it as like you weren't like the factory team. It wasn't a March team. It was you guys running your own deal. Did you show up knowing you could win?
You never think about winning that race,
Right.
or any race, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, but then you got to set it aside and just think about what you have to do to the car to make it go faster.
Right.
And make it live. And then the driver, Bill and I never thought about it. Klaus Ludwig was great.
Right.
The team was superb. I mean, we lost a belt during the race and lost a lot of time, but something worked out there. I'll tell you that story. But you don't think about that. You have to focus on how to make the machine go better and drive easier. And the fact, so you try to drive it as fast as you can, but as safe as you can, but right at the limit.
Right.
You got to find the limit and just stay at there.
Right. Right.
You can't do anything else. And if you do that, your attention band's pretty narrow, as you know in the cars that you race.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But you said you lost a belt.
We did lose the belt. I was going down the Mulsanne, and maybe 2.5 hours left in the race, something like that. Thing just signed off. And it rained all day and all night.
Now, were you guys leading at that point?
Yeah, we had a huge lead.
And so you're in the car, and I assume when you get in the car with 2.5 hours to go leading, you're probably your mental focus is just don't f up. Just I don't want to be the guy.
Yeah.
But you gotta blow that out right away because you will.
Yeah. Right.
So you just drive as hard as you can.
Right.
I mean, just the same procedure, the same time. I mean, we ran the same time. We qualified out almost in the rain.
Yeah.
Our car was that good. We had tires that were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, they hand grooved them all.
Right.
Going down the Mulsanne, the thing just signed off, and I knew what it was because we lost the belt in practice. It's not a big deal. You take all the cowling out of the back of the inside of the engine, and we had a spare belt there.
Were you able to get it back to the pits, or did you have to do it yourself?
No, it took a while. They forgot to put a wrench in there to loosen the damn banjo fitting for the fuel pump.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I had the first belt, and it wasn't going to fit because I couldn't loosen it up. So I timed the engine and the pump like you do, slid the belt on, but I had a screw.
Where are you at this point on the track?
At the middle of the straightaway at
Right.
Le Mans.
So just to put
I'm
this-
on the track and off the track, and the cars are going by wide open.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people may not realize. I mean, it's I think still true today, but like in those times, crew guy, you weren't getting a tow back to the pits. Crew guys can't go out and help
No.
you. So you are the driver. You've got whatever resources you've got in front of you. You have to fix the car
Right.
to be able to get it back into the pits.
That's right, and they have
Right.
plenty of people there watching you do it too. I
Yeah,
mean,
to make
the
sure.
crowd, it was, and the cars going by in the wet and the rain. Every time they'd go by, about to lift the car off the ground.
And you're
'cause
standing
they're
in the-
half on the track.
Yeah, about to say you're sitting right there.
Yeah,
So,
they're running 180 miles an hour or so,
Jesus.
and it's raining still, and it's scary from that standpoint. So you have to. So I get the belt off, and there's no tool to loosen the thing up. So I pry the first belt on. It's a Gilmore type belt. And I carefully try to pry it on with a screwdriver. Start the engine. It starts and pitches the belt right away because I couldn't get it all the way.
Yeah, right.
So now I figure the race is over. I'm dead. So
Yeah.
I took the screwdriver, took the tail off the car, and I took the screwdriver and pried the alternator belt off with a screwdriver. Too big, of course. So then I had some duct tape. I had them put almost a half roll of duct tape back on the bar. So I undo the duct tape, and I start taping up the bottom pulley. And I taped it up and taped it up and taped it up until I built it up.
And this isn't a rehearsed thing. You haven't walked through how to do it if you get in this position.
I mean,
Right.
changing the belt's easy. You take a wrench, loosen up the turnbuckle, left hand,
so
right
it's-
hand
yeah,
thread.
yeah, yeah.
It's over with. You loosen up, put on, tighten it. It's so simple.
Right.
But with a screwdriver, it's a little more difficult. And the alternator belt was too big, but I put so much duct tape on that pulley. The pulley, I had that much tape on it. And I line it up. I just knew it wasn't going to work.
Right.
I hit the starter switch, and it started so instantly it scared me. So now they take the stuff and put it over the guardrail, so I have to get all the stuff back over the guardrail because I can't go over the guardrail. So they're handing me the stuff, and I'm trying to put it in place without I'm lucky to get it off with just the screwdriver.
Right.
Put the wing back on it, and I'm filthy, dirty, dead, tired, just, I'm dead
Worn
at that
out.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I never touched the throttle. It idled about 1,800 RPMs. I just went 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the pits and got out.
Yeah.
And then they put a new belt on it.
Wow.
Bill went back out, and we had maybe an 18-minute lead after that point, and he just ran and brought her home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
So do you ever throw that over Bill today? Like, I'm what won Lamar.
I think Bill forgot that. Kramer, until the day he died, kept that belt, though.
Yeah,
Really?
that's
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Him and his brother.
Did we order pizza?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
I see.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's-
Because there's a
that's
whole
me.
thing behind us. I was like, is that for us?
Let's grab-
Start
yeah, that's
eating
for
it,
us.
man.
Yeah,
Break it
why
in. Cool. You guys can stop and eat if you want.
No, we keep rolling.
Wait,
Okay.
we'll go. Yeah, no.
I'll bring it over.
All right, so obviously you've had a lot of obviously you've run with your brother a bunch, but you were in Indy and sports cars during what we would now consider one of the golden eras of the sport. Who was the guy you wanted to punch in the face the most?
And that's not a question just for you. We ask everybody that.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's not exclusive to you.
It's a pretty long list. Where should I start?
I love it.
All right, go.
I love it. The funny thing was last year we interviewed a lot of sports car drivers and like they all picked kind of the same two people. It was a common theme.
Yeah.
I know who that is without asking. I got along okay with those guys, though. John Paul Sr. broke my arm one day in a race car, and I would like to have shot the son of a bitch.
Well, he'd probably shoot back.
Yeah.
Well, he did for sure.
Yeah. So
He broke it in 8 places. I just had the plate taken out a few years ago. When I broke it here, they had to put a plate here and take that plate out. It was in there for almost 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So the background here is that my dad was one of JLP Racing's mechanics. That's why I got.
Which one?
His name's John Eversley.
Was he in Atlanta?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know who he is.
That's where I'm
English
from.
guy?
Yeah. So I kind of grew
John
up in
Paul.
that world. Yeah.
The problem was John Paul. He reacted. His son. I was trying to pass his son, and he
Yeah.
thought I was dicking with him. I wasn't. I just was getting by him. That's all. But in the meantime, then he pulled up on the back straightaway at Road Atlanta, and then gave me a big bang with that type of steering with no power steering. Any hit on that tire goes right through your arms.
Yeah.
And I had a pretty good grip on the wheel, and it just shattered this in 8 places. I finished the
geez.
race
With
with
that-
the other
with the
arm,
shattered arm,
but
okay.
I drove with my legs and the right hand, and I couldn't do much with the left hand. But that was uncalled for. I mean, he reacted because he thought his son was getting bothered, but I forgot about it later and went on. I really there's one or two more, but not really the drivers much or the crew. None of the officiating guys. They were all pretty damn. Particularly at Indy, they were exceptionally good to us.
All right.
Because we weren't part of the pack. We were kind of new.
Yeah.
Right.
We were new.
Right.
So they really gave us a good hand. And IMSA was the same way. They were really good.
Well, so you guys were part of this influx of just guys that kind of showed up out of nowhere.
What do you need? I'll
You
get
want
you.
some more pizza?
I had a water somewhere. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I'm sorry. Cool.
How do you feel like you guys fit into the paddock at that time? Because there was a.
I don't think we gave a shit, really. I mean, we wanted to race.
Right.
And we just wanted to race. We didn't want any bullshit. We were happy to get the car through tech.
Right.
To do any questions, do the interviews, all that stuff, and
So
had
some
a
of the-
great time doing it.
Right.
But we just didn't want to. We didn't give a shit what they thought. We wanted to beat everybody.
So some of the older teams were like, oh, I don't know where their
Oh,
money's coming from
Greg-
and all that
Greg-
kind of stuff.
Greg was the worst in the world.
Who?
Peter Gregg.
Peter Gregg. Okay.
He was terrible about that. He came from a different cut.
Right. Well, and he was very much. His money was family money, dealership money, and do you feel like there was any resentment in terms of kind of where you guys were coming from with funding?
He spent more money than we did.
Fair enough.
He even called the Kramers and begged them not to sell that car to us
Really?
Really?
because he knew we were going to kick his ass. And we did. He had it. He did so many things. Peter's favorite trick was to overfill the oil tank for the start of the race. And he did it every race until I threatened to beat the shit out of him.
He would fill up on your car.
No, he would overfill his oil tank.
Ah, okay. So
the
it would
dry
cover
stuff
your
So
windshield.
it's covered your windshield.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I put up with it for a few times and so did Bill. And he was on the pole more than we were in
Right.
the beginning because he was a better driver. He had great equipment and he was a better driver. No two ways about it. And that was the end. That I had some tough words with him one day about that,
Yeah.
and he quit doing it. He quit doing it. But
Really?
that was his favorite.
What was but
trick. You can't
I-
see that oil on the
No,
windshield. Oh my God, it made me mad.
I'm sure he quit doing it, but I'm pretty sure it didn't come from you going, could you stop?
Those weren't my words.
How did it happen? How did it happen? Was there a fist? Was there more than a fist?
No, I didn't hit him.
Okay.
He was too,
You just threatened him?
He was a little too puny to hit. I used the F word repeatedly probably and got probably right in his face and cussed him out real thoroughly. And I think he got the point. And we became pretty good friends after that, in fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He called all the time. We spoke quite a bit.
Okay, so 1979 rolls around. You guys purchase and operate Road Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, by doing that, we were able to ride, you could race more.
Uh-huh.
We never practiced there. We never had the time to practice there. The cars were on the road. But it was a good opportunity. It was a great piece of dirt. We bought it from a great guy, and it was a fun experience. It really was.
Yeah.
But it was solely so we could race more. That's all it was about.
Yeah.
And then it was easier to do stuff. Met a lot of great people. We met.
What do you mean it was easier to do stuff?
Well, it was easier to race. I mean, because if you had a track, you could get more sponsorship. You could make more deals. You could do stuff.
Right.
It opened a lot of doors. It was helpful.
Well, I mean, sort of having your own
But
track.
then we met the other side of the crew, the other side of the racing people. The guys from Datsun, some great people from all the different sponsors. The Goodyear. I mean, it had a different perspective to it.
Right.
And that was interesting too.
It's got to be such a different kind of business model than running a race team, I would assume.
Nah, same deal. You just have to. You got to put your time in and
Right.
got to sell tickets. I had promoted racing when I was younger, though, drag racing and stuff when I was 18
Right.
years old.
So there's, the Whittington family is obviously there's folklore there. You guys are a legend. There's, the legend of Road Atlanta was that you guys could land an airplane.
I used to land there all the time. I used to land the Bearcat on the back straightaway. The F-88
Okay,
Bearcat.
so that's 100% true that you guys would absolutely land stuff there.
I'd go in there with that, then also went in there with the 421 a bunch of times because it was easier to fly straight from there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could go back nonstop, without buying any fuel. The airport there were great guys. We went there all the time to the local airport.
Okay.
But it was fun to land on the back straightaway.
Yeah, no.
And an F-8F Bearcat, a Navy plane, recept engine.
Well, and I assume you don't. If
gets
you're
off
landing
the ground quick. And
if you're landing on the backstretch, you don't have to deal with anybody at that point. You're not going through towers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's easier. It was fun to do too.
Yeah.
Kind of sporty.
It's fun to do. So you land at Road Atlanta. Where would? Because I grew up there. Where would you go all the way down to the dip to the pit lane, or where would you leave the car?
I would
or
try
the
to.
plane?
I would try just past the bump at the exit. Just past the exit on the back straightaway, there was a little bump right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we have a picture of Bill in the race car with wheeling through
yeah.
that bump.
Yeah.
But no, I try to touch down right there and then stop it and then park it right there on the side somewhere.
Right.
Then taxi back and park it.
I
and
love
take
it.
off.
Did the neighbors call? Like, hey,
Nah.
there's these
Well,
planes.
back then
that
there
keep-
was nothing
Chicken
around
farmers
there.
up there.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah,
kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had
wouldn't care.
that's chicken country. We bought some dirt from one of the next door neighbors, a chicken guy. They're all characters up there. Then they built a real nice dirt track across the street.
Yeah.
When I was up there, I ran some race up there last year in the 935 the guys built, and like a Walter Mitty thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they closed that dirt
Well, they
track across the street,
They
though.
paved it, and
they
then
did?
and then it ran pretty well for a long time. Linear raceway. And
Yeah,
then,
linear.
Yeah, and then it. I think it went under, and then
went
recently Jim Downing bought it,
Oh, wow.
and now he's paved the entire infield, and they use it for like driving schools, drifting schools,
good.
like go karting. Like they're trying to like utilize the property, which is pretty cool. But yeah, for a long time that was a really neat thing to have nearby.
That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
So
Yeah.
speaking of 935, as I understand it, that was one of the sort of the things that got seized when everything kind of went down, and it became property of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
No,
And
that car was never seen. That's not correct at all.
Okay.
We gave them some stuff.
Right.
One of the cars was an IndyCar.
Right.
And a 934. The 934 car we bought from Brown that we made a 935 out of.
Okay.
That was it.
Is that the one that you
nothing
sued over?
was seized.
Because
Huh?
what was the lawsuit you had with Indy in 2009?
I took early on the Le Mans car up there and had a deal with the Holmans and the guy that ran the museum.
Yeah.
That it was a loaner and it was
Okay.
they could keep it as long as they wanted.
Which car
to.
was this?
That was the 935, the 41 car.
Okay, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Time went by. I never worried about it. And there was an event coming up at Daytona, an antique event. I thought it'd be pretty cool to take the car
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
So I called and said, hey, guys, and I'd like to come get the car and tidy it up. And they said, well, we own that car, So then I sued them in federal court, lost. They stood on the stand and lied. And they just lied their guts out and lost the car. And then I appealed it. Didn't do that either. But they had too good a script.
Right.
They had nothing in writing. And that's my mistake for not.
Right.
And it's Tony Holman. Tony Holman's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
and his family knows it. His great family. They've done wonders for the world in racing, the greatest of all time. But Tony is a bad person, and just a terrible person. Didn't need the money. Didn't need the car. It was downstairs. That wasn't the deal anyway. Supposed to be up there occasionally, but he's just a very spiteful human being. He's been a horrible person his whole life and still is.
And so basically they used seizure assets and incarceration against you in that process?
No, they didn't. Nothing was seized. They just said that they were able, since they had the car that long, to establish the fact to convince a judge that they owned the car because it was there that long.
Right.
I still had the title of the car, still have it today. But that was ugly. That really was.
Yeah.
And they outmaneuvered me.
Yeah.
And hometown deal.
Yeah.
That was a waste of my money. I spent probably $200,000 chasing that car.
Well, when you say hometown deal, you're going against courts that are in Indianapolis.
And of course, it's
against the Holman family. So
the Holman family's, they've done unbelievable things for the racing. They really have great. It's just the son's a jerk.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Makes sense.
Simple matter. Yep.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, these are their words, not ours. In 1986, you pled guilty to money laundering charges in association with Bill's guilty plea for tax evasion and conspiracy to smuggle. And along with that, Randy Lanier, John Paul Sr., John Paul Jr., the whole lot of you are now in trouble.
Well, it's not quite like that.
Okay.
But, I mean, in time, that's what happened.
Wikipedia also said you finished 6th, and you said 5th, so I'm going with you on it.
Yeah.
So,
the time, I mean, that things happen. Sure.
Yeah.
That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
not the end of the world.
Clearly. What are you comfortable talking about when it comes to this stuff?
Really, none of that, because I've still got a family that's out there, and
Fair enough.
I get crucified every day because of it still. With different things, and you can't look back on it and regret it, or anything like that. Nor can Bill, but it's things that happened. It was the Wild West a little bit back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I still don't think there's anything with selling marijuana myself. I think it ought to be a nationwide. They should change the law,
and I know,
and quit messing with it. Look what it's done for the State of Colorado.
We were just in Colorado. We were like, what's the
It
problem?
is booming better than they've ever boomed since the gold rush days.
Well,
and it's because of that. And they need to get off. Those agencies need to give up on that deal. They incarcerate people over that stuff.
Well,
and
that's
it's senseless.
Yeah. That's and I know Randy's part of a cause. That's one of the kind of the things we thought about is that, you and your brother Randy, you guys were put down basically for marijuana trafficking, nothing else. And marijuana, because it's so legal today, I mean, there's a lot of movement now too. There are still guys that are serving lifelong sentences because of Reagan's war on drugs.
Oh my God, it's a shame too.
Yeah, for a drug that's basically now legal. I mean, are you involved in any of those kind of causes?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think I could help them myself. I mean,
right.
I wouldn't be need to carry the torch, or I couldn't help them. But
right.
It's just a shame that they are. It was some of those things were just wrong what they did.
Right.
It was kind of overkill from one standpoint from what they get away with today, but I think they should legalize that nationwide and be done with it.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Absolutely.
Tax the shit out of it.
Yeah.
I truthfully don't think a cigarette's any worse for you than a marijuana cigarette.
Okay.
I really don't.
Sure.
I know people that have smoked their whole life and still do that are perfectly normal. And I know some that are alcoholics because they drank too much. I know some that are dying of cancer because they smoke too much. So where's the differential? I mean, where do you draw the line?
Right.
It's an impossible.
Because what you guys were doing as far as racing and how it was getting funded, because that was so high profile, do you feel like you guys were sort of for lack of a better expression, sort of a PR move?
No, not at all.
I mean,
it's just something that happened, and you just look back on it and go down the road. I mean, you can't belabor it or regret it. None of that will work. You just it was just something that happened, and that's not what I pled guilty to either, by the way. But
no, I understand that.
By no means are we trying to burn you.
No, that's okay. I appreciate it, but
you know,
it's a fair question. I mean, it's public record, and I still fight it every day. I mean, there's hardly any time goes by at all I don't pay a price for that.
Does that make it? I mean, from what I know, there wasn't a huge comeback for you guys in racing once you got out.
Well, that wasn't it, though. I mean, I had a family. I had 3 children at that point. And I just didn't want to drag them through the ink.
Yeah, sure.
Because, it's just like the election we're having right now. It makes you sick in your stomach, but I'm a Trump fan. I almost pray. I do pray that he wins because I just don't like the other side. But
Sure.
It's a movement like that. All the mud that was slung against him and her both.
Yeah.
I've never seen an election like this in my lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
And back then, we were going to get slammed no matter what we did.
Right.
And there was no need to. I really regret getting out of racing because I could kick anybody's ass at it at the time, and but I did. I just then I raced motorcycles and airplanes and different things. But the car racing it lost its fun to me.
Right. Yeah.
It
No, I
just
understand
wasn't any
that.
fun.
I understand that.
Even when I went back with the Lola with my brother Dale, it was great fun driving the car, but the racing had changed a great deal, and it was not as much fun.
Right.
I'd still love to go race Indy again and think I can still beat 99% of those guys up there at any given day. I just haven't pursued it, but I'm older, but I still think I can still beat those guys. I really do.
Right. When a guy like Scott Tucker gets put away and was going through what he was going through with Level 5, we were just talking about this driving in, that what Level 5 in Scott Tucker's business model was very, very different from what was going on in the 80s.
Who is Scott Tucker?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Cool.
Scott Tucker ran a IMSA team called Level 5. And Level 5 kind of showed up out of nowhere, spent tons and tons of money, and then it turned out
Like
he
triple what
triple
was
what a
necessary.
normal IMSA team was spending. I
Yeah.
mean, crazy amounts of money. But he was involved in what would now be considered payday loan schemes. So basically, he was setting up shell companies that were
Kind of like the federal government does.
he was setting up a consulting business that was doing business with Indian tribes, so therefore they're on their own sovereign territories. And those Indian tribes were creating payday loan companies that were basically targeted at
Wow.
they were targeted at those without means. In other words, you're watching cable TV at midnight, and all of a sudden somebody comes on TV and says, "Do you need cash fast?
Oh, yeah.
Call us." And then it turns out, they give you $1,000,
But you owe
and
them
then
like
you're going to end up paying them
$12,000.
$10,000 or more.
12,000 back.
Yeah.
Crazy and very illegal. But the way he was doing it,
Got away with it for a long
arguably
time.
he found a loophole by doing it with Indian
I
tribes.
missed all that.
And
I don't know where. I read 2 papers every morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't read a word about that ever.
Look it up. Payday loan
He
scandals.
just recently, within like 2 or 3 weeks ago, they basically said, okay, you owe us like $2 billion or
Yeah.
something kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
he's done.
Yeah.
But the consensus between Sean and I was like, we both feel that the things that like yourself or Randy and your brother were all kind of involved with don't equal out to be a person thing, whereas basically taking advantage of people in desperation and need on a financial side is.
There's some differences there. I mean,
Yeah.
it was illegal at the time, and it shouldn't be today.
Right.
It's just they weren't bad people. Nobody got hurt. There was no,
Right.
there was no bad people involved, and the mob got involved in about mid or early 80s or so.
Right.
And that's when my brother got out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very simple. It
Right.
became dangerous.
Yeah.
And before that, I think it was kind of a sport.
That makes sense.
We do a pass-along question for each guest. So last night we had dinner in St. Augustine with Hurley Haywood. And one of the things he wanted to ask was, he said at Daytona, he goes, quote, one of you, Whittingtons, Hurley says, you guys were nose-to-tail dicing at Daytona at 250 miles an hour. He went to, whoever was behind me tried to draft by me into turn one, so I brought him all the way down to the apron so late that I knew it wasn't going to be really scary into turn one. And one of you was on the outside and went spinning off into turn one, massively out of control.
That was my brother Dale. He lost a wing.
Okay.
And oddly enough, Bruce Jenner, the wing off the car hit Bruce Jenner, and Bruce totaled his car out. He came over and offered to whip my brother's ass and motherfucked him to death and everything else. I mean, it was ugly.
Right.
But Bruce was okay. He was just pissed off at the moment. That was Dale.
Yeah.
Wing came off the car.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened there. Those cars were so fun. Those cars were so fun to drive. Then they take that back straightaway and put that stupid ass chicane.
Yeah.
Moretti was the source of all that. He was a chicken driver. He really was. I got to tell him that. He's alive today, I think, still. But tell him that.
Yeah.
He was so chicken he didn't. He was afraid of the speed on the back straightaway. Well, get out of the effing race car.
Yeah.
Go home. But that's why they put that in. He lobbied for that for years.
For the bus stop
For
chicane
the
at
first
Daytona.
time I met him, he was lobbying for that.
Yeah.
A very likable guy.
Right.
But he was a coward. He was afraid of that speed on the bank.
Yeah.
You could eat a sandwich up there at
Right.
200. You really could.
But that's coming from you,
About
and
to
you are
say.
not phased by speed, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Going fast, there's no thrill in going fast. It's going around a corner that's fun. Going fast is not hard. It's going around a corner that makes it fun.
I think you are a different breed, my friend, than most, but I
Yeah.
totally dig it. I'm
You are a
surprised you never got into drag racing, because
Yeah, but-
you would have been like, yeah, let's keep going, whatever.
That's where I started racing. I raced drag racing last time I was 14 years old.
Right.
I
That's
like
what I
it.
was doing in Arizona when I lived there.
That's fun.
Did you ever have a nickname or anything? Because like Fearless Motherfucker keeps coming into my head.
Wild
like,
Man
Yeah.
Don.
Yeah.
I've been called, they used to call me Dino Don back in the drag racing days. but
Okay.
There was a Dino Don on the other side of the world, though. But I had a great fun drag racing. Met all the guys. Was friends with a lot of the guys out there still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always come up for nicknames for guests while we're driving down the road, because we're in the car
Yeah,
for like
for
stupid
your
amount of
capture.
time.
Yeah.
So for you, we came up with Donny Dubbs. So that's your code name for when we're like, all right, did you call Donny Dubbs about dinner yet?
Don't call, yeah.
You good
Don't
with
call
that?
Call me anything. Not late for dinner, though.
All right, so talk about the interest, and then maybe, I don't know if it's thrilling enough for you or not, but it would scare the shit out of me. Racing airplanes in the Reno air races.
That speed you notice because you're pulling a lot of G's in
Yeah.
the corner. I
Yeah.
mean, we raced there a lot. Bill raced there a lot. And it was really a lot of fun. And still would be, too. There's no problem there. The caliber of guys has kind of slipped, I think, the quality of pilots, because when I got in it, there was a lot of World War II guys.
Okay.
Bob Hoover wasn't racing, but he was out there all the time and gave us a lot of advice. Became a lifelong friend. He just died 2 days ago.
Oh, that's terrible.
But it is a lot of fun to prepare the airplane and get out there and go around those pylons, 30, 40 feet off the ground at 500 miles an hour. And we ran the fastest I ever ran there was like 450 miles an hour. But that was a legit.
Did you say only like 450 miles an hour?
Well, I don't mean it quite that way. It's
Jesus
pretty
Christ.
thrilling because you're pulling 4.5 and 5 Gs
Yeah,
in the
no
corners.
kidding.
Yeah.
And you're close to the ground, which makes it, and because you're close to the ground going around those pylons, you're in quite a bank, and the planes don't really turn like they should. They slip a little bit. They push through the air, so
Okay.
the wings are shorter. So it's a handful to fly. I mean, no, thank you. It's very tiring. Takes a lot out of you. Great fun, though.
Yeah.
It's quite an experience. It'll scare the shit out of you if you're not careful, but it's really easy. You don't have an accident there, you just get killed.
Right. You don't limp away from those.
I've lost some friends out there, and
Yeah.
tough deal.
Here's the thing I've never understood is, from what just reading your timeline, you kind of did all these things at once. And
Pretty much.
and whatever led to the funding, you still had to work on that side as well to keep things funded. I don't understand how you were able to manage all
just
this.
the time.
Yeah, just the time alone.
I know how to work. My brother knows how to work, and Dad worked. That was alive back then. And
Right.
hell, I went to the air races. The first year was 1976,
Okay.
and set a world record out there in '76. Ran 431 miles an hour with an airplane. First one to run that.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
So here's the all-encompassing truth about my interest in interviewing you, because I feel like I grew up in an IMSA family. My dad worked with JLP Racing and Bob Aiken with the Coke 962.
Dale
So-
ran with them too.
Yeah.
They won Sebring, in fact, together.
So for me, I've always found the heyday of IMSA very, very just intriguing.
It absolutely is intriguing.
Yeah.
And
And then
it'll never be seen again.
Right, exactly. And then on top of that, you have these amazing stories of guys like you and Randy, and this just screams blockbuster movie to me. So my goal in life, with Sean's help, hopefully, is to either tell the true story, everybody's side, or a documentary or a blockbuster film, so we can all get really rich, and that'd be great.
Okay.
That wouldn't be bad either.
Yeah. Who plays you in the movie?
I have no idea.
Who do you play yourself?
No. I'm too old for that.
Daniel
Still
Craig.
do all those. I don't know that I'm older. Those are the problem,
Right.
But we've been offered some movie deals in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
There's a guy was trying to do one not long ago, willing to fund it, in fact. But,
Yeah.
I have no interest in that. Doesn't do a thing for me.
Right.
Is that
I wouldn't. I really. I just wouldn't want to waste the time. My time is very dear.
Sure.
And, you try to live every minute. As you get older, you want to live more of it.
Right.
Because your time's limited.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Is that
I just don't give a shit about that.
Okay.
I really don't. It
How
just doesn't do
brutally
anything for
honest.
me.
I love
is that a family thing that you don't want that kind of story out there, or it's just you just don't want to spend waste of time
I don't
on
care
it?
about that. That thing has beat me up so much for that and
Yeah.
the good stuff they forget about,
Right.
and all the good that you do during your life. But it just doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
I drive a van. I mean, I drive a.
Oh yeah.
so do we.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
we
you
pulled
both-
up right next to him.
I've driven those
I almost
vans.
hit my door into him, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit! I hope that guy's not mad." And I looked, and you're like, "Yeah, that's cool." I'm like, "I think that's Don."
I've driven a van for the last 30-some years.
Yeah.
And I don't drive a hot rod on the street or anything. I mean,
Right.
I race motorcycles, 20, 30, 20-some races a year. I didn't run 20 this year. I think I only ran like 18 races this year, but
Right.
I'll run more next year.
Yeah.
So I still, pretty active about doing things, going fast.
Yeah.
Still pretty handy at it.
Well, that's the crazy thing. I mean, you got out almost I think 20 years ago,
Yeah, I
right?
did.
And so it's been plenty of time, and yet it's still people won't shut the up about it.
Nah, they don't. Some are bored. They don't have a life, so they like
Right.
to talk about that stuff.
Well, I think we're guilty too, but it's for me. I have this like personal interest in it because I heard the stories growing up, and never in a net because my dad literally worked for John Paul, who ended up shooting an undercover DEA agent. So it's like
I never knew that guy was an agent.
Yeah.
So you knew him too.
So it's like stories like that, like were burned into my brain at a very young
I'll be
age,
damned.
and never in a negative way either. Just in like, oh, this is how it all went, and here's what the thing was. And so my like small, like racing is obviously my career, but like Sean and I talk about this a lot. Is I really somehow want to tell that story in a realistic way.
Well, I think it's something that should be told at some point.
It's
in time.
history,
And it's history, and
Yeah.
somebody will step up and do it. It's just I don't have time for it, but I think somebody should do that. I really do. That whole element. The racing was superb.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
The car were $80,000 brand new, and you could start them and take it to
That's
the
so
racetrack.
crazy.
And 935 was
So-
$80,000.
So crazy.
We paid $15,000 for the first 934, and we only paid $20,000 to Holbert for his.
Right.
It's insane.
If you adjusted that to today's number, it still wouldn't add up anywhere close to what a modern prototype
yeah.
runs for.
Right.
So
That
Right.
Lolo I bought, I paid $400 and some $1,000 for the chassis.
yeah.
That,
And
like
it
10
wasn't
years
very
ago.
good.
Now they're out of business.
Well, they deserve to be. They built a shitty car. I mean, it's just a shame that they'll
Yeah.
never be. But the series did it to themselves. When Bishop started filling in one of the prototypes, that was the end of IMSA.
Okay.
Because they never could recover. I mean, they have a hell of a show still.
So along your career of many different types of racing, whether it be airplanes, bikes, or cars, who were the guys that you looked up to when you were first getting into it and maybe even raced against? Because we looked up a video of you racing IROC.
Yeah, I ran some high stuff.
And the field was like ridiculous.
It was,
It's like
I mean,
We had everybody.
Yeah, it's Mario
Andretti's in this
Clay
thing.
Regazzoni.
Clay
It was like, what the
Regazzoni, yeah,
fuck?
Yeah.
Mario's still a cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we looked up to him, Floyd, Rutherford,
Yeah.
the Unsers, Mears. Those guys were our heroes, so to speak.
Yeah,
Absolutely were.
Yeah.
And even Peter Gregg
Right.
and some of those IMSA guys were just A-side drivers.
So we watched
guys.
this IROC video, and it's on an oval, and it's in an old. I think it's just a Camaro. IROC Camaros.
Probably Atlanta.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah. And you had a crash. There's like 10 crashes or whatever. But there's two parts of this. One, we're watching this, and it's like, well, here's the guy that did run some ovals and a little bit of NASCAR, but you're racing against Mario Andretti on an oval, but it looks almost like a street car. I'm sure they were souped
They were
up.
tube chassis cars.
Yeah.
And the guy that was in charge of all that was not Leo Mel. He was Goodyear, but the guy that Les Richter from
Okay.
Riverside. He was the one in charge of all those cars. So when they brought me in, I got to practice a lot, and I'd help set up the cars and stuff, like
Right.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
But the reason I probably didn't go out in the first lap is I found a plug at the start of the race and fell back.
Okay.
Mario made a stupid move in turn one and crashed everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Just
we saw that.
totaled the field
Yeah.
out. So then I'm trying to catch up, so I had plenty of time to catch up, but I lost it coming off turn 4 because I tried to run 4 flat to catch up, and I did because I could do it in practice. But then when I came off 4, the car got loose, and I started chasing that sumbitch, and I hit that interior wall
Yeah.
a ton.
Yeah, it looked hard.
Yeah.
You could see my neck stretching in that deal.
Right.
Oh.
Jackie Stewart
That's the
is
best
doing
part.
the commentary, and this would never happen today, but he actually says, "Oh God, I think his head hit the steering wheel."
Oh, he hit
and then
everything.
and then what was it?
And there's Don Whittington slumped over. It's like,
Oh yeah,
they
he
would
slumped
never
over
say
the,
that on
yeah,
television
he slumped
today.
over the wheel. It doesn't look good. I was like, what?
Oh, that hurt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looked like
that would never happen today.
Car is real stiff too. But
It's a massive, massive
It was,
impact.
yeah. I chased it all the way down the straight like a fool. I should have just spun it and hit the wall lightly.
Yeah.
And, I thought I could drive out of it. It was out there, and it did it once, it did it twice, and I was kaput.
Right, right.
I think I already know the answer, but in a race like that, when it's Mario Andretti and Clay Regazzoni and Buddy Baker, it's just this crazy mix of group. Did you ever look and go, holy shit, and get a little starstruck?
Nah.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I just wanted to beat him.
Yeah, absolutely.
My brother's the same way.
Yeah.
Mario would walk by the pits every day at Indy, and we were considerably faster than he was. I mean, and he hated it.
I believe it.
And he'd walk by, and Bill was, "Hey, little big man, how you doing?" And Bill gave him all day long. But Mario was a good friend, and Bill real tight with Bill too.
Yeah.
He came over and talked every day. But one of the most rewarding things you can have in racing is when you're fast at Indy, and they all hate it.
Yeah.
And Roger Penske will bring a 6-pack of beer to your pits, your garage at night, thinking you've already left to talk to your crew guys. That's when you know you've done good at Indy.
Yeah.
And that's what Penske did. He
So
brought
that
over a
was his
6-pack
tactic.
of beer at night to talk to the crew.
To talk shop and see what he could figure out.
Oh, yeah, no, he never quits. That man, that's why he's won it more than anybody will ever win it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the next guy will be the guy from Arizona running the prototype cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you ought to go interview him. He's a good guy. He raced cars, too. The guy that ran the GT40s at Le Mans this year that runs the NASCAR and IndyCars. And
Oh, Ganassi. Ganassi?
yeah, Chip
Yeah,
Ganassi.
yeah,
he
yeah,
raced.
yeah.
He raced back then, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told him he had a big party. He has a big party every year in Scottsdale.
Uh-huh.
From the Linda girl, the Hertz girl,
Linda Vaughn.
and
Yeah.
everybody up and down the way. They all go to dinner.
Yes.
They have a time of life. My brother was there, been there a couple of years, and he's good friends with Chip too. And Chip was telling the story when I told Chip I told Chip I was going to break his legs. He still tells the story. He told me that the other day. He stopped in the hangar here.
See, the thing is, what
I didn't mean it at the time, Chip. He ran into the back of me at Pocono.
Okay.
Totaled my car out at Pocono under a yellow.
Right.
And I got out of the car so mad I could have. I told him that. I said, I probably said it. Chip, I'm going to break your effing legs. I said, but I didn't do it. So, it's okay. I forgive you.
Well, 'cause I like this because in my head, like, at that point, you guys had a reputation, and if you're sitting there saying, I'm going to break your legs, there's probably side of him that's like, oh, he's going to break my legs.
He's
Like,
pretty
did
mad
you,
right now.
but
I
my point is,
could have
did
at
you
the
use
time.
that?
Yeah.
When you get out of a race car, you say the dumbest on earth.
Sure.
Because you're not thinking anything at the time except going to the racetrack. You get out, and the first thing that bounces through your brain is
Just
so
goddamn
off
violence.
the wall.
Yeah. Crazy.
I could say anything when I get out of a race car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But-
I have before.
But
Yeah.
I have a feeling it carried more weight coming from you guys. But did you ever use that to your advantage?
Nah.
You know,
never.
like,
I
oh,
never
Chip,
thought
we
of
can
that.
get this guy.
Oh,
And
no.
like,
Right.
We weren't bad people. Bill wasn't. No, it was all fun. And, it was just. Don't all those other son bitches did it. You don't think Floyd fought, and Unser
yeah.
fought,
Yeah.
Buddy
Yeah.
Baker, Allison, all those guys, all the fist and cuff all the time.
Yeah.
Downey Allison used to fight all the time. I mean, hey, it's all. There's no weak people out there racing
yeah.
cars. I mean, or any of that stuff. They're all pretty strong people, and they want to be heard.
You got to be pretty passionate to do
Yeah,
that.
you better.
And-
You get your ass.
who is the easiest guy to rattle?
Well, Foyt was the best at trying to rattle people.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
But was that an offense for a weak defense?
No, he was a little bit. He just loves to give people,
I can
and
see
to this
that.
day he still does. Loves it. He went to the trouble to go to the store and buy some TNT explosive looking stuff with an alarm clock and a fuse and everything on it, and put it in my race car one day at Indy. I mean,
And you're like, that's
he
not
was
what
endless.
it looks like.
And Buddy Baker came up one day and gave me a bunch of because I had bought a race car from Foyt to run Atlanta with.
Right.
And Buddy came up just before the start of the race and said, that's really a bad sign to have the guy's name on the car that you're driving and somebody else on there
Yeah.
for you. That's a very bad odom. I mean, he was trying to,
Yeah.
Yeah, just
it was like funny. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, whatever. Man.
Oh, I think racers, everybody has their bad traits and good traits, but the racers, they want to race. They're out there to race, and all those guys went through the rank and file. And today, the rank and files through the go-karts and stuff because they can't get experience any other way. And honest to goodness, I drove my son's shifter cart some. I've never driven anything more horrifying in my life than a shifter cart.
They're fast as hell.
They're the hardest things on earth. I got out and I couldn't breathe for 2 days.
Yeah, right.
They
And
are hard to drive. They're brutal. They're impossible to race. I mean, those guys are so good when they get out of those carts.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
And
look at F1. There's not an F1 driver in the world that didn't start in those carts.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've come across a lot of drivers in your time. I'm sure you've heard all the stories. Probably familiar with the story of Johnny O'Connell trying to murder Dario Franchitti in Detroit.
Yeah. I can't even go there.
Yeah, everybody knows that story.
It's just an old dirt thing. And whether it's factual or not, I've never figured it out.
Yeah, well, he's still alive, so he's fine.
Were you single during the heyday?
Got married just about the same time.
Okay.
I went married. I'm on the spot already.
Well, no.
Married
yeah,
in
that's it.
79. We just had right at not quite 40, but
Okay.
just got married in 79.
Okay, so we'll exonerate you from
So
the
it was one
question.
of the first races you went to was Le Mans.
Oh, jeez. All
It
right.
was supposed to be that way all the time.
Right.
About to say
But
that-
she's
how'd
a
that work?
trooper.
After, like when you went from Le Mans to like the next race at like Louisiana,
Lime Rock.
yeah, Lime Rock. Like, did you set the bar too high at that point, and then she wasn't
Probably
impressed?
so, but Paul Newman was hanging around constantly then too, and
Yeah.
he was a great friend too.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
Did she
we met everybody, but she's still a trooper. She pits for me in the pits and during the race in the motorcycles.
still today?
That's great.
That's
great.
awesome.
She holds the gas can. I come in, I'm hot and nasty and tired and filthy dirty and got to get gas. Some of the hair scrambles you got to get some fuel,
Right.
and she does that. She does all the time. And she's
Right.
going to Baja with us too.
Wow,
she's
40
a real
years.
trooper.
Yeah, and she stuck with you through all the nonsense
Oh
and
yeah,
all that.
yeah, no issues at all there.
So
Good girl.
wow, that's awesome. Okay, well, so who had the yourself excluded? Who had the best game during that time?
Who
about
Who was the
between
best
Bill
with the
and
girl? No, just in
Oh,
the
wow,
paddock.
sounds
oh,
like it's
sure.
a
Okay.
two-man game.
Yeah, between you and Bill, who was better with the ladies?
It went. Oh, we were never that type guys.
You weren't those. Okay.
Okay, so
okay.
in the paddock.
In the
That's what I
paddock.
always wanted to know.
Where,
Was
yeah,
it like,
keeping your name out.
Well, there's a lot to look at in the paddocks, I must say.
Sure.
And I was allowed to look, but
But which guy in the paddock could make
we
things work?
really weren't too interested in that. We wanted
Okay.
to race.
Yeah.
I mean, it just all goes back to that. I mean,
Okay.
we'd show up. I mean, we were rude to people sometimes. We wanted to go back and race. We wanted to get the car right and make it.
Yeah.
We wanted to win and be on the pole. And that's if you can't be on the pole,
Right.
you probably couldn't win.
Right.
You're going to get outran. So
Right.
there were some great sights. I think my wife and my brother's wife named them pit lizards.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
that
that's still a
carries
sticky
on.
name.
Still a
That
thing.
carries
It's
on.
still
They're
around.
still out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys got to run with Klaus Ludwig, Hurley Haywood. Who was the ultimate teammate that you got to drive with?
Klaus was really, really good.
Yeah.
And he at the time was winning the championship in Europe and wanted more after that. And
Yeah.
Hurley was good too. Klaus was a little better mechanically. Hurley, tell you if he was pushing or this or that, but that it stopped about there. But Klaus was a little better than that.
Yeah.
I think he was more of a technician guy. Fittipaldi was real good, but he was good, great in some ways, but everybody had their strong points about the car,
Yeah.
the tires, the chassis. Everybody knew something about a little bit of something.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to learn everything, and Bill and I we sparred off each other because we could go out at Indy with two identical cars and one go a little faster, and then we'd talk about it and then go faster, and then we would tell each other the truth.
Right.
I ran with a team up there, and the guys wouldn't. I mean, they wouldn't give you, wouldn't give you the time of day, your teammates, and that's something that Penske would not tolerate. I didn't drive for Roger, but he was really strict with his guys to share information. They still wouldn't share information because they were afraid of each other. Where Bill and I weren't. I didn't give a shit if he won or I won, or he was in front of me or back. But that's one reason we got faster, quicker. And IMSA cars the same way.
Yeah.
When you're talking to somebody and you can relate to them and they're telling you the truth, you can get better quick.
Right. Well, that's probably one of the advantages of driving with your brother because there's no bull.
No, that's
know.
right. Absolutely. And Klaus was that way too.
Yeah.
And Hurley was that way. Hurley's a great driver.
So
Good fun.
you guys never had any of that, like switching the brake bias as you get out of the car, and you know.
We would, we just wanted to go fast.
Yeah.
So, on the same kind of questioning, you got to drive awesome cars. The 935 K3 is one of the most iconic sports cars of all time. You guys were able to win at Le Mans overall in it. And you also got to drive the March, and later on, you guys had 962s at some point?
No, just the Lola was the
Lola,
last
sorry, yes.
sports car that I had.
And then crazy Indy cars that were going stupid fast with aerodynamics that were probably still very unrefined, I'd say.
They were very dirty cars.
Yeah.
I mean, they had no top speed at all.
Right.
I ran 15 at Indy, and I think I was only running 21 down the straightaway.
Right.
Wow.
So what was the greatest car you got to race in?
I think Indy was probably the greatest car I ever ran was a 935 Porsche.
Okay.
Hands down, no contest. There'll never be a better car.
Yeah.
To this day, nothing better. Indy was more of a challenge because there was so much aerodynamic stuff that you could do to the car to make it go faster. So you're all the time just a little something. I drove 1,800 miles in Indianapolis the year I finished 5th during practice, and I ran the same engine the whole month.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
only had one engine. I put 1,800 miles or 1,700 miles on a Cosworth, which is unheard of.
Right.
Wow.
But I was the first one on the track every day and the last one off every day.
Yeah.
And that's why I had a car that could have won.
Yeah.
And but it's a lot of fun to go up there and change a wicker bill and go 2 miles an hour faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. No
But
kidding.
anything you do to the back, you got to do something to the front. It's
Yeah.
not a one-sided deal. So you're all the time. You're trying to get it to push, but not too much. You get a little oversteer, but so you're just fighting it the whole. But it's great fun. It's
Yeah.
just a battle between you and the car all day long.
Yeah.
And we had Keith Layton was our crew chief up there. Brilliant guy from England, been around everything his whole life. Wonderful fabricator, welder. So I could think of something he could do. We did things that they still hadn't figured out we did up there with those cars. And I made them wider. I made them longer. I changed suspension. I mean, we did a lot of stuff with a duck and they able to go fast. And then you go faster, it's less drag. But we couldn't pick up much top speed, but we could pick up a little more downforce by cleaning up. They just wouldn't go down the straight. They were so dirty.
Yeah.
They wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they were slow. Today, they run 235 or 240. I mean, they're 10 or 15 miles an hour faster than lap times.
Yeah.
So.
Back to our pass along. So you answered Hurley's question, and our next guest is actually Randy Lanier. We're going to go up and meet with him in an hour.
Good.
So if you had one question you could ask to Randy, and it doesn't have to be racing related, it can be random. What would you
Our
ask?
relationship is only racing related.
Sure.
But he did a real good job. Bill brought him around and taught him how to drive a race car, and he's really good. He got real good quick. They won the championship, kicked all the factory's asses with that March and a Chevrolet engine in it.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, I just hope that he keeps doing it like he's doing it. He's out racing, trying to do things and doing it great. But I wouldn't have one question for anybody, really. I mean, I can't think of.
Sure.
I mean, Hurley, yeah, but I wouldn't.
No
it might
pass
be
on-
long.
no one thing.
We would talk maybe about one of the cars of the year or something and different things like that. But
No pass along question.
I don't have any.
I love this man.
I just like.
He's like, whatever.
I want to go fast.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
I want to go fast around the corners.
I hear you.
And a
Okay.
motorcycle, you learn how to read the dirt out of a corner.
Yeah.
You just, all the stuff is good. You learn different things.
What kind of motorcycle racing are we talking?
Off-road racing, enduro racing.
Okay, so like scrambles
Hare
and things
scramble.
like that?
I run hare scrambles, but I do Florida Trail Riders. I run those for the Florida Trail Riders
Okay.
3 or 4 a year, and then the regular season I race in Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona.
Sure.
Different parts of the country.
Right.
With Rocky Mountain Enduro Circuit. It's a series I run out there. We run a KTM motorcycle. It's a 300cc two-stroke. I only run 2 strokes. I hate the 4 strokes. They're too hard to work on. I do my own engine work. And
Cool.
So you're going to Baja after
absolutely
you're done here?
can't wait. I'm going next.
So you're doing your pre-run in a couple days.
7th,
Yeah.
8th, and 9th. I'm going down there and try to run 3 days. I'm going to probably run the night shift. Start late in the race and.
And you're
we
how old?
should- 70 years old. I have
And
those
doing the
steps.
night shift at goddamn Baja.
Yeah.
Jesus
Why
Christ.
not? I'm a great night driver. As good as anybody. But we won't get done. We're going to start at about 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, probably 10:45 or so, the way the thing's scheduled.
Yeah.
And if the car runs all day, we should be able to get it at 22 hours of winning is what won it last year, and 22 hours in our classic car. So I'll probably get in the car 7, 8 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock at night, something like that. Or no, maybe a little early. It'll take about 4 hours to finish up that last section of the race.
Yeah.
Probably run 200 miles, give or take, something like that, with 3 guys, maybe a little more. But so I'm going to go out and try to run that in the daytime a couple times, and try to run it at least 3 times at night, that 200 miles.
Right.
To try to learn where the rocks are and stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
I have a feeling there's never going to be a point in your life where you say, I'm too old for this.
Well, I still beat the young guys. I mean, I beat
Yeah.
all the kids in the motorcycle racing in the C class. So,
How many people are showing up to run in your class in that?
well, in my class, we have a 60 and a 66-year-old. I run the 60-year-old class, and there'll be 15 or 20 guys.
Okay.
And sometimes there's not as many, but then I still run open C.
Yeah.
With the overall C riders, and I win it once or twice a year. And I finished 5th this year in the open C
Yeah.
with all the kids.
Yeah.
So I beat 180 kids.
Are you just talking the whole time like you
I
punks
never
pick
talk
it
to
up?
No, I
You just don't talk to them at all?
No, I'm buddies with a lot of those pro racers and stuff. We
Yeah.
sponsored a pro motocross guy, or pro enduro guy named
cool.
Ian Blythe.
Okay.
He's racing down in South America now and back up here.
That's a World Jet sponsorship?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Just
Okay.
sponsors. And we've helped a lot other people. And but I've met a lot of guys in that series in the last 7 years that I ran it. A lot of great friends. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
they normally have Open C will have 100 guys, then 125 guys
Yeah.
normally,
Right.
something like that.
That's
They'll
cool.
normally have 200 to 400 racers.
Right.
The National Enduro Series, I didn't run many of those. I ran none of those this year, but they limit that to around 500 bikes of the different classes.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah.
Only
no,
500 bikes.
jam packed. I mean, the course
Jesus.
gets really worn out.
I've been thinking about doing scrambles. I'm okay on a bike. I'm better on a quad, and I know they do some quad ones.
Oh, yeah.
What's the budget for that? Like, what's a weekend to go? Let's say it's a local thing here. You don't have to have a hotel or drive too far. What are you spending for the weekend?
Hotel's the most money you spend.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Because like the entry fees for those things aren't crazy.
Pay
right?
$7,000 for a motorcycle that can win.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And you can run the balls off of it for a couple of years and put a couple of pistons in it. I go through a couple of pistons a year, and it'll bring $5,000 2 or 3 years from now.
You're right.
4,500.
Right.
Wow.
Now, tires are the good deal on tires is about $40 a piece. They cost $100 retail. They don't break.
Yeah.
I mean, you can rotate the tires. You can run almost a season on a tire. I change tires pretty regularly though, but still, there's the gas to get up there in the hotel is more than you'll spend on anything else. The
Yeah.
entry fee is normally $50.
Oh, that's great.
Greatest race on earth.
Yeah.
What's the name of the guy you sponsor?
Ian Blythe.
And where
B-L-Y-T-H.
he races? You said he races South America?
He's running South America series down there, and he won it for the 2nd year in a row. And
Cool.
he also went to our gold medal deal is the 6-day trials in Europe.
Okay.
That's the highest you can do in our racing, and he won over there last year too
Right.
and finished well.
What's the South American scene like?
That's some of the same terrain as South Florida, except with
Okay.
mountains in it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool terrain down there. He's ran it. They've paid him now 2 or 3 years in a row to go do that.
Oh, wow. Do you do any racing down there?
No, I haven't gone down there. I'd like to run the Dakars down there
Oh,
now, but
Yeah.
the entry is $40,000, and it's probably just too damn much work.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just too many days. You're down there for a week or 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and it'd be a lot of work. The Enduros are great fun to race.
So, when we talked yesterday, you were going to be in Jacksonville. You never know where you're going to be. What's your travel schedule like right now?
Well, like tomorrow morning, I've got to be up in Daytona. I didn't go there yesterday, so I'm going up tomorrow to look at something, and then I'll go to Arizona. I don't travel as much as I used to.
You're not
but
really the man of the
I'll
world,
race
so
20
to speak.
sometimes a year,
Okay.
something like that.
Right.
Now, do you only travel for racing? I mean, is the wife like forcing you to take a trip
we
to
don't
Paris?
go places. We travel for racing mostly. We
Okay.
go to Colorado. And I want to spend more time in Colorado in the future.
We had no clue how beautiful it is out there until we went
It's
through
so
it.
nice.
We
Yeah.
drove from Salt Lake through Aspen up to
Oh,
Denver
yeah.
and then over to Nebraska.
Insane,
And I was
yeah.
the whole time because he was having to like schedule things on the computer, and I was driving. I'm like, look up, like look around.
You got to. I'll
Yeah.
give you a different route to go back,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's even prettier yet.
Really?
It's unbelievable. So, working with the equipment out there and building a dam or building a road or changing a mountainside, it's great fun
Yeah.
to do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so much fun. I don't like to travel that much. I mean, I
Sure.
like going. I don't like traveling to the races. I like to race, but I don't like traveling.
Yeah,
Sure.
It's
so,
a pain in the
so you
ass.
don't want to be the number 3 on the road trip podcast tour.
No.
You saw what the van looked like.
Your van looked like mine. I was proud of you. You know, you had playing everywhere. You're pigs.
We are terrible. The funny thing
I
is,
knew
is
it was
like,
you right away. I looked in that thing. I saw that laying there. Oh, that's got to be these guys.
I literally, as we're unloading, I opened the side door to get my backpack, and I said, Jesus, the back of this van is disgusting. And he goes, the back? I was like, yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
I take my dog with me. I got 3 dogs. I take the dog, my big dog, with me all
Yeah.
the time in the back. And, you know, she weighs 200 pounds.
Yeah.
She makes a mess. And there's hair everywhere. People I have to clean it every Monday.
That's
Yeah.
like Sean. That's my,
Yeah.
Sean's my
Yeah,
big dog.
that's my once a week shower.
You're like,
Yeah.
you remind me of the pair that do, oh gosh, they're on TV all the shopping. They go picking around the country.
Oh, no. Oh, American Pickers?
American Pickers.
Okay, cool. I thought you were going to say Gas Monkey Garage. I was like, I'm out.
Oh, those guys.
God
I don't
damn
watch
it.
any of those shows.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of the shows where they build the cars. And
Yeah.
Okay.
The best ones, guys out of Salt Lake City, and they have the best. They build the best cars of any of those people.
Okay.
But-
Not sure who that is.
Now the
Yeah, we're American Pickers, but
Yeah.
instead of like getting cool antiques, we're making podcasts about racing. Yeah.
hey, you got to do it. You can't do it in a plane. You got to carry your stuff. And
Hey, good.
Holy
oh,
shit, you understand
you get
this.
it.
Yeah.
Like
I-
all day today, people are like on Twitter. They're like, "Why don't you guys just fly?" It's
Oh,
like
you
we
can't.
can't.
Well,
I
and
can't.
like,
I can't. I mean, when I go on an airplane, I have to do about strip search myself because I always carry a knife, a small knife.
Yeah.
right.
And I've lost so many of those at the airport. It doesn't matter. And I get
Right,
I
right.
get preferred. You know, I get the clearance. But still,
Yeah.
it's painless. It really is. But
Yeah.
you can't carry anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, I got a couple of phones and this and that. I put them in my bag. I mean, and then you're worried about it getting stolen.
Right.
I got my GoPro and my batteries and stuff I worry about too. And I leave all my gear in Colorado, but I still have to take a bag that big for my
Yeah.
that you carry.
Yeah.
Well, and for us, the schedule's changing by the minute as
Oh,
far as
sure it
this
is.
guest
Yeah.
changes, this
Yeah.
guest moves
Yeah.
around. We
Yeah.
can't book
You-
flights. So
Got to go. with
unless
the flow.
WorldJet wants to fly us everywhere.
We would take
right.
a WorldJet sponsorship.
You know,
we would,
we'll
we would
take
allow
that sponsorship.
Yeah.
It's
Obama's made that pretty impossible for everybody in the world.
Yeah.
He's killed
Yeah.
aviation more than
Yeah.
anybody ever has.
what is security like right now at a place
It's-
like
it-
WorldJet?
it's-
Like, is it the same process?
No, we have none of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, none of that.
Okay. Is that one of the advantages
They
to flying?
they gated all the airports or fenced all the airports a few years ago.
Okay.
But we don't have any commercial traffic at our airport, so
Right.
it's a much more laid back airport.
Right.
They have security that drives around, but you know there's gates you have to go in and stop to
Right.
let the gate close. That's it though. It's open and
So,
we
so
never have any trouble.
if we're podcast producers and we
Yeah.
want to, this is never going to happen unless Continental decides we're the best thing in the world.
Right.
But
Or we get a Honda Jet.
or we get a
There
Honda
you go.
jet.
Yeah.
If so, when Honda gives us their jet, like we can fly in. We're not going through metal detectors.
Oh,
we're
no,
not having to
nothing at
check
all.
anything through TSA.
I mean, how can a guy get in a commercial airplane and go make 3 or 4 stops in a day and do business? You just can't do it.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Can you fly international into
yeah.
WorldJet?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
We have
awesome.
customs right at the airport.
Okay,
Yeah,
and they
you
literally just
land
come on and
land
okay.
at that airport, clear customs, go to any of the operators on the
Yeah.
field.
I get the impression you're a guy that could give two shits, but what do you want the Don Whittington legacy to be when the time comes that you're done racing?
I don't have one.
Yeah.
Nah, I just like to drive race cars
Yeah.
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 or a plane or any of that stuff. It's just going around corners it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And that's the fun of my life.
Yeah.
Going around corners. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids and family and all are wonderful, but anything you can do that's mechanical, going around a corner is fun. Going straight line speed
Doesn't do it for you.
doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I've ran fast, and doesn't do shit for me.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I would like to go to Bonneville though before I get done with it. I want to go out
Okay.
there and do
Yeah.
a couple of cars.
That'd be cool.
What would be the record?
But
you're
that'd
going
probably
for?
be quick too. I mean, you're not there long, but
Yeah. What record would you want to hit?
I think it'd be more the vehicle I would do it in than
Right.
an overall record. I mean, I'd pick something I could probably build myself and
Yeah.
take out there.
Yeah.
Some class I could do something. It might only be a couple hundred miles an hour. It might be 50. It might be 300.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? But that's an awesome place to go to.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We drove but we drove by a sign.
Yeah.
we
We saw a
But
sign on
we
the
didn't
side of the
actually
street.
go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that airport right there where they start all that stuff. That airport is pretty high up. It's a good place to set a speed record in an airplane.
Right,
Buddy of mine tried that once there. It's a good place.
Cool. Well, I think on that note, Continental's got the check.
I'm finished.
Wow, that was such a great episode. That guest really knew how to tell a story.
Well, good, Ryan. I'm glad you approve of Donny Dubbs.
You're welcome, Sean. I'm right here.
All right. Thank you to Don Whittington for, coming out and meeting us. That's sort of not really something he does, but he was super cool to hang out with and gave us the time. So how much more can you ask? Now, if you enjoyed that episode, we highly, highly recommend you listen to the next one in the series with Randy Lanier. Randy is an awesome storyteller and a super cool guy. Had a little bit of a lot of a tech issue that hopefully you can sort of get past when you listen. It breaks our heart how we had a tech issue with it, but it's a good episode nonetheless. So highly recommend you check out Randy. But in any case, thanks to Don. We're going to close out with a band that Ryan is a big fan of. It's called Richard Sherfey and All God's Children. This is a song called Rosalie. Or is it Rosalie? Rosalie? It's on Spotify. Check it out.
Pretty